I am talking Rocky Maivia, or The Rock, when he first joined WWF. Now, when he was Rocky Maivia and he first joined WWF, he immediately got a push as this generic babyface who couldn't smile more. They told him to smile as much as he could. He even smiled out of his ass. I don't know how that was possible, but he figured it out. He was supposed to kiss the babies, shake the hands, help the grandmas across the street, talk to the grandpas about their time in World War II, tell them they did their best. And there was a joke there, but I couldn't think of it in time. Tell them they did their best and they did their duty, even though they may have jacked off a dog or two. Or did that only happen in Vietnam? Anyways, he was immediately pushed down people's throats. And shortly in 1990, debuted in 96, and shortly into 97, he won the Intercontinental title from Triple H, who was still wrestling Hunter Hearst Helmsley. And people hated it. I mean, they hated him. They would chant, Rocky sucks. They would chant, die, Rocky, die. There were big signs that said, die, Rocky, die. They hated him. He had X-Pac heat. You can't say The Rock never had X-Pac heat because he did. They absolutely hated him. And Vince just kept telling him, go out and keep doing what you're doing. I guess he sucked in the ring too. His finisher was a shoulder breaker. And people hated him. When you get chance of your die, Rocky, die, that is a good sign that you're not doing your job as a face. Now, I know what you're thinking. They should have kept him as a babyface. Well, he soon got injured and hurt his knee legitimately. Now, thing is, Bret Hart was working with him when he was in there, but Triple H and Shawn Michaels were kind of talking bad about him in the locker room when Bret Hart was working with him. But then he legitimately injured his knee and had to go down, and they gave Owen Hart the Intercontinental Championship. When he came back, they decided to do a heel turn. And The Rock said, give me the mic for 2 minutes during this heel turn, because he had something to say. And this is when he did his first heel promo. And he just ran down the fans who had just booed the crap out of him when he was a face. The fans who had turned on him as a face, he just completely ran down. And that is when he proved he could be a heel. And shortly afterwards, he joined the Nation, and then which was led by Farouk at the time, and then he feuded with Farouk, and then he led the Nation, and then he eventually became The Rock. And then he started referring to himself as The Rock, and then he was known as Rocky Maivia, The Rock, and then he was known as simply The Rock. But when he first came in, he was the most hated face on the roster. And apparently, WWF didn't learn anything from this. Because when John Cena became the most hated face on the roster, and people were chanting, Cena sucks, they kept him as a face. When Roman Reigns became the most hated face as a roster, and people were chanting, Roman sucks, they kept him as a face. But when The Rock did it, they quickly turned him heel, and he became the hottest heel in the company. So yes, at one point, The Rock had X-Pac heat. And his finisher was a shoulder breaker. And people were chanting, die, Rocky, die. And if they would have kept him as a face, Who the hell knows what would have happened during the Monday Night Wars? Because part of the reason WWF did so well against WCW was because they had The Rock, who was one of the hottest acts in WWF at the time. It was only for about 6 months he was a face, and then he got hurt, and then he came back as heel. And he didn't feud with anyone big, just like Triple H. So that should be a lesson to WWF in the future, but they didn't learn anything. So if you want to continue to see my videos after the next 3 weeks, go to my new channel, which is at Steve W. Sanders 84. The link and the My Name is URL is in the description. And here's a word from my sponsor. Books! Books! Read them and look smart. Pretend to read them and look smart. Pass them around. Hit your buddy over the head with them. Give him a concussion. Books!